to join the Fever and what's special about this opportunity for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really excited. I had some stint there at Golden State and it was a great time. So yeah, went over, played with Australia, won a gold there, and that was great. So just to be back in the W and have another crack is really exciting. Really grateful for this opportunity here with the Fever and just excited.
A player competing in China, halfway across the world, receives a phone call that will change everything. Just weeks earlier, she had torched the Indiana Fever with clutch three-pointers, leaving their defense in shambles. Now, that same team is calling her with an offer she can't refuse. Caitlin Clark is out with injury. The championship window is closing fast, and in a move that has sent shockwaves through the WNBA, the Fever just signed their former enemy to a high-stakes 7-day contract. But this isn't just about filling a roster spot. This is a calculated...
Big news, breaking news, Chloe Bibby, who was recently on the Golden State Valkyries, has been signed to the Indiana Fever. This is not a huge surprise to me. I have mentioned it in multiple videos. She was doing really well with the Valkyries. I think she was only with them for about 5 games, while a lot of their players went over to Eurobasket.
Gamble that exposes a hidden weakness, a secret plan years in the making, and a rivalry that's about to become the most dangerous partnership in women's basketball. What you're about to hear is stranger than fiction. This story doesn't begin in Indianapolis, where you'd expect it to start. It begins in a hotel room somewhere in China, thousands of miles away from the bright lights of the WNBA. Chloe Bibby, an Australian forward living the chaotic life of an international basketball star.
The main thing I remember about Chloe was the fact that she could shoot, right? That's the main thing I remember about her. Watching her games with the Valkyries, if y'all don't remember that, she was on the Valkyries. I think she played for the preseason and she got signed again, didn't play like 5 games. She finished with like 42% shooting from the 3. So she could hit, man. She could really hit.
Chloe Bibby, the newest member of the Indiana Fever, you know, her fit and whether she's a long-term fit for the Fever remains to be seen. But on the surface, on paper, it makes a lot of sense because this is a team that has been in dire need of, in my opinion, of a stretch 4. And that is what Bibby, skill set wise, is capable of doing. We don't have a huge sample size to work with. Obviously, she had a short spurt with the Valkyries.
Is managing time zones, cultural differences, and the grind of overseas competition when her phone rings. It's the Indiana Fever, and they need her now, not next week, not after she packs her bags and flies home to Australia to say goodbye to family. Now, the Fever's star player, Caitlin Clark, is sidelined with a groin injury. Their championship hopes are crumbling by the day. And suddenly, Bibby is being asked to drop everything, leave her life behind, and take the first available flight to America. Think about that for a second. Most players get weeks, maybe months, to prepare for a career-defining opportunity. Bibby got hours. She didn't have time to process what was happening, didn't have time to pack properly or mentally prepare for what she was walking into. She just had to move. And she did. The journey itself was a blur.
But I remember specifically her shooting. She was shooting that thing, man. She was stretching the floor, and the Indiana Fever needs that. They need somebody that can help stretch that floor, make it more dangerous at that perimeter, make the defense respect that perimeter just as much as they respect the paint presence, right? So she can help with that.
There were a lot of fans where the Fever are too slow. They want to play slow it down, grind it out basketball. Doesn't seem that way. Doesn't seem that way by the player they just signed and the messaging that is going across there. So that has to be reassuring for a lot of the fans. And Chloe Bibby seems to have a good head on her shoulders, a good attitude, and a good approach.
Adrenaline-fueled sprint through airports, battling jet lag and exhaustion, all for a 7-day contract. 7 days. That's not a long-term commitment. That's a trial run. That's a test. And here's the thing, agreeing to uproot your entire life in a matter of hours for a short-term deal, that is almost unheard of. It takes a special kind of hunger, a relentless drive that only comes from years of fighting for a moment like this. Bibby wasn't just answering a phone call. She was answering a lifetime of preparation. But here's where the story gets really interesting. The Indiana Fever didn't just pull Bibby's name out of a hat. They knew exactly what they were getting. And they knew because she had already shown them. Just weeks before that phone call, Bibby was playing under a temporary hardship contract with the Golden State Valkyries.
While Brianna Turner is over there collecting dust, we need somebody off the bench that can come in with some size and rain threes until Damaris Dantis' shot begins to fall, and we go out and we get one. Chloe Bibby. Last time we saw Chloe Bibby, she dropped 12 points against the Indiana Fever. Wait for it, in her WNBA debut. She shoots over 40% from the field. She shoots over 40% from three.
With all these waived players, I kept saying there was one player that the Indiana Fever needed to sign, and today it happened. That's right, the Indiana Fever have officially signed Chloe Bibby. She showed up and showed out with all the teams that she was with in the preseason, especially with the Valkyries. And I kept saying she could spread the floor. She makes the three. She would be perfect, a perfect pickup for the Indiana Fever, except they took forever to sign her. So I was like, maybe they're not going to sign her.
And when the Valkyries faced the Fever, Bibby put on a show. She didn't just play well. She torched them. 12 points in 24 minutes. Critical three-pointers at crucial moments. The kind of performance that makes a coaching staff sit up in their seats and start asking questions. And not just any questions. The big question, why isn't she on our team? What Bibby didn't know at the time was that she wasn't just trying to earn a spot with the Valkyries. She was auditioning for her future. Right there, in front of the Fever's front office, she was solving their biggest problem in real time. She was showing them the one thing they desperately needed but didn't have, a stretch four who could space the floor, drain threes from deep, and force defenses to respect the perimeter. It was an audacious, brazen performance. The kind that gets remembered, the kind that gets you signed. And when Caitlin Clark went down with injury,
Where were you when you got the news or got the call that the Fever were picking you up?
I was in China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how quickly were you, like, did it just scramble mode then coming over to the States, like pack a bag and go?
Well, yeah, I was already in, so I went from San Francisco to China, and so then I didn't really get to go back to Australia. So just from China, I was like, well, I already have some stuff back, so then just come back over here, back to America. So yeah, it was good. It all happened pretty fast, but as I said,
Fever needed help fast. There was only one name on their mind, Chloe Bibby. Now, let's talk about why this signing is so much bigger than just replacing an injured player. The Indiana Fever have been dealing with a critical flaw in their offensive system all season long. Every opponent has figured it out. When Aaliyah Boston dominates in the paint, which she does regularly, defenses collapse inward. They build a wall around the basket. They pack the lane. They dare the Fever to beat them from outside. And for most of the season, the Fever couldn't. They didn't have a reliable perimeter threat who could punish defenses for sagging off. They didn't have someone who could consistently knock down threes and force defenders to stay honest. That's a death sentence in modern basketball. You can't win championships when defenses know exactly what you're going to do. Enter Chloe Bibby. During her brief stint with the Valkyries, she shot an astounding 42.1% from three-point range. Let that sink in. 42%. That's not just good.
I can go.
Well, yeah, I was already in, so I went from San Francisco to China, and so then I didn't really get to go back to Australia. So just from China, I was like, well, I already have some stuff back, so then just come back over here, back to America. So yeah, it was good. It all happened pretty fast, but as I said, super grateful for the opportunity.
Does it still feel chaotic now that you've been with a team for a day, or do you feel like a little settled now?
I feel a little bit settled. I have had a lot of sleep, which is great, so I think I've got over the jet lag a little bit, so feeling good.
You had the chance to go and play against this Fever team.
Yeah.
What kind of your impressions then, and how do you feel like you can fit into what they do are?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, really physical team, tough, fast-paced, and I like that fast, style. So I think that suits me a lot.
That's elite. That's game-changing. That's the kind of shooting that opens up everything else. When Bibby is on the floor, defenders can't help off her. They can't collapse into the paint. They have to respect her range. And when that happens, suddenly Aaliyah Boston has more room to work in the post. Suddenly Caitlin Clark has more space to attack off the dribble. Suddenly a predictable offense becomes an unstoppable one. Bibby isn't just a role player filling minutes. She's the missing piece of the puzzle. She's the tactical solution to a strategic problem that's been plaguing this team all year. But here's the thing. If you only look at Bibby's WNBA stats, you're missing the full picture. Yeah, her numbers with the Valkyries were impressive, but they came in limited minutes. A small sample size. What most American fans don't realize is that Chloe Bibby has been dominating internationally for years. While she was flying under the radar in the States, she was building a secret resume overseas. And it's a resume that would make any GM take notice.
I mean, it's a challenge always, anytime you're integrating, but I think at the position that she'll play for us, really being somebody that's in that stretch four, middle of the floor, there's not a lot of nuance to how we'll use her. We'll shorten the playbook a little bit, make it specific to ways that we can continue to stretch the floor when we put her on the floor with AB.
Today you had a rare practice.
So, that is pretty straightforward and simple from head coach Stephanie White. When you hear her say she'll fit in next to AB, which means it seems like the plan for Bibby is to play in Aaliyah Boston minutes, where of course Aaliyah Boston is playing a lot of minutes on the floor.
In Poland's premier professional league, Bibby wasn't just a contributor. She was the star, playing for Gorzo Wielkopolski. She averaged 20.9 points and 5.9 rebounds per game. She wasn't coming off the bench. She wasn't playing a supporting role. She was leading the offense. And she did it so well that she was named the league's most valuable player. But it gets even better. When Bibby suited up for Euro Cup competition, facing the best players Europe has to offer, her numbers somehow got even more impressive. 22 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, 2.2 steals. Those aren't just solid stats. Those are superstar numbers. Those are the numbers of someone who can take over games, lead a team, and carry an offense on her shoulders. So when people wonder if Bibby can handle the pressure of playing for a championship contender in the WNBA, they're asking the wrong question. This is a player.
I truly didn't see who could fit the Indiana Fever system that was available that hasn't already been taken by other teams. It did end up being kind of like the obvious answer, which is Chloe Bibby, who again, I think is a good signing. I don't think is going to change the landscape of the Indiana Fever basketball. I do like that she's young. I do like that she has young legs. I love that she does fit into a more modern style of basketball, 6 foot, plays outside of the arc. So I am very, 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 very curious to see how she does fit into.
Who has been a star on the international stage. She's not a project. She's not a raw talent who needs development. She's a proven winner who has been perfecting her craft in front of smaller crowds and dimmer lights, just waiting for the day when the spotlight would finally find her. And now it has. But here's the challenge. Dominating overseas is one thing. Fitting into a team that already has a megastar like Caitlin Clark is something else entirely. It takes a certain kind of ego, a certain kind of mindset. You have to be confident enough to know you belong, but humble enough to play your role. That balance is what makes this signing so fascinating and so risky. The timing of this move couldn't be more complicated. The Fever are in the middle of a storm right now. Caitlin Clark, the face of the franchise and arguably the most scrutinized player in the league, is sidelined with a nagging groin injury. That alone creates a massive void in the lineup and puts enormous pressure on everyone else to step up. But that's not the only issue. Brianna Turner, a former All-Star and veteran forward, has been riding the bench for weeks. She's barely seeing the floor. And people are starting to ask uncomfortable questions. Why isn't she playing? What's going on behind the scenes? Is there tension in the locker room? Are there disagreements about rotations? and roles? The whispers are getting louder. And into this mess walks Chloe Bibby, armed with nothing but a 7-day hardship contract. Think about how precarious that is. She's not guaranteed anything beyond a week. She's not being promised a long-term role. She's essentially on trial. Every minute she plays will be scrutinized. Every shot she takes will be analyzed. Every mistake will be magnified. And the questions hanging over her head are brutal. Is she just a temporary Band-Aid to get the team through Clark's absence? Or is this a real audition for a permanent roster spot? And if it is, does that mean someone else is getting cut? Is Brianna Turner's time in Indiana coming to an end? Is this the beginning of a major roster shakeup? The stakes couldn't be higher, and Bibby knows it. But here's where things get really smart. Coach Stephanie White isn't treating this like a panic move. She's not throwing Bibby into the deep end and hoping she figures it out. White has a plan, and it's surprisingly simple. Instead of trying to teach Bibby the entire playbook overnight, White is doing the opposite. She's abbreviating the system. She's keeping things basic. She's telling Bibby exactly what her role is and exactly what she needs to do. Be a stretch four. Play alongside Aaliyah Boston. Space the floor. Shoot threes. That's it. No complicated reads. No intricate schemes. Just do what you do best, and do it with confidence. It's a brilliant coaching decision. White knows that Bibby can't learn a complex system in a matter of days. She knows that trying to force that would only set her up for failure. So instead, she's playing to Bibby's strengths. She's putting her in a position to succeed immediately. And here's what that tells us. This wasn't a desperation signing. This was a calculated move. The coaching staff identified a specific weakness in their system. They found a player who was the perfect tactical fit, and they built a plan to integrate her as quickly and efficiently as possible. That's smart basketball. That's championship-level thinking. But winning a title takes more than tactics. It takes chemistry. It takes trust. And that's where this story takes its most interesting turn. Because Caitlin Clark and Chloe Bibby aren't strangers. They know each other very well. They just know each other as enemies. Years before they became WNBA teammates, Clark and Bibby were bitter rivals in Big Ten college basketball. Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes and Bibby's Maryland Terrapins went to war on the court. These weren't friendly scrimmages. These were intense, high-stakes battles played in front of packed arenas with conference titles and tournament seeds on the line. Every time they faced off, it was personal. Every possession mattered. Every bucket was earned. They pushed each other. They challenged each other. They tried to beat each other. And now, after all those years of competition, they're on the same side. That history adds a fascinating layer to this partnership. Bibby isn't walking into the locker room as some starstruck rookie who's intimidated by Caitlin Clark's reputation. She's been in the trenches with her. She knows what it takes to compete at that level. She's never been afraid of Clark's talent because she's faced it head on. And that confidence, that familiarity, could be exactly what this team needs. There's no adjustment period when it comes to respect. There's no awkward phase where Bibby has to prove she belongs. She's already earned that on the court years ago. The rivalry that once divided them is now the foundation of their partnership. And if they can channel that competitive fire in the same direction toward a common goal, this could be something special. This is the story of a player who left everything behind for a 7-day audition. A team that took a calculated risk to fix their biggest weakness. A coach who designed a simple but brilliant plan. And 2 former rivals who are now fighting side by side for a championship. Chloe Bibby's journey from China to Indianapolis is one of the wildest stories of the season. And we're just getting started. The games haven't even been played yet. The real test is still ahead. Can Bibby deliver under the brightest lights? Can she prove that she's more than just a short-term fix? Can this former enemy become the missing piece that finally pushes the Fever over the top? The clock is ticking, the pressure is mounting, and everyone is watching.